I don't know if it's going to get copyrighted.
GT World Challenge Australia here this weekend returns for the first round of the Shannon's Speed Series. GT World Challenge Australia, hello and welcome to the beautiful Phillip Island circuit. We're about to get qualifying underway in just a few moments' time here, but in the process at a very wet Phillip Island circuit, meaning the longer that this session goes on, the better the track conditions will get. This is going to be a very exciting qualifying session here as we get ready for GT World Challenge Australia to hit the circuit for what will be a fast and furious qualifying session, more or less here, as the car's not too far away now from hitting the circuit. Actually, in just a few moments' time, if I'm being completely honest with you. So, a few moments' time, the cars will hit the circuit and we'll get ready and head out for qualifying for what will be a very wet qualifying session, must I say, here for this weekend. Now, I can't play any of the world footage, the world feed audio, so that's going to become a bit of a problem. A slight bit of a problem, must I say. Slight bit of a problem there. As we take a look now at the Kelso Electrical MPC car of Brock Feeney and Brad Schumacher inside that car, sharing that car this weekend there. The Kelso Electrical MPC car, sharing the car with Brock Feeney and, of course, Brad Schumacher. He's the 88 car of the Wolfbrook Motorsport team. Steve Brooks and Ryan Wood in that car this week. And watch out for them to be very, very quick indeed. As we now take a look at a run around this circuit as they make their run down the Gardner Straight for the first time. As we take a look at a lap of the Phillip Island circuit. The long run down towards turn number 1 in the Mercedes-AMG GT3. One of the Mercedes-AMG GT3s as they make their run through turn number 1, of which is doing corner up through turn 2 now, through Southern Loop. The fast left-hander won't be so fast heading into qualifying here. Through the double apex left-hander, now putting the power down on the exit. Now through Stoner Corner, turn 3, and out the other side. And then you'll make your run dip down into turn number 4. Here's turn 3. Fast left-hander. It's a very flowy circuit. Then, the first time you really hit the brakes, turn 4, Honda corner, and out the other side, hairpin on the exit, get the power down, use the curb on the outside. Now, using all the power you have underneath you to make your run now through turn 5 and into turn 6, which will be Siberia. Here, you can see turning and now making his run through turn 6. Here, there, turn 5, and out through now turn 6, Siberia. Foot flat through to the floor. Almost like you can't feel it. Turn 7, turn 8, turn 9. Flip your car through. Here, look, turn 8, turn 9 now. Now you'll be approaching your run down through turn 10 into Lukey Heights, which will be a very, very scary corner come race day. And now making your run up through on the exit 11 through turn 12. And now on the exit, put the power down. And the run to the line, turn 12, is the way you'll be getting through this circuit and making your run onto Gardner Straight. There, that is the look at turn 10. The downhill drop into turn 10, more or less, as the cars now have hit the circuit. So, GT3 cars, this is going to be quite an interesting session. They're all GT3 cars. There's no GT4 cars, but there are a few different classes coming into this weekend as well. Unlike what we've just seen with Formula 1, there are different classes. We've got Pro-Am. We've also got the Trophy class. We've got the Am class. So there are your 3 different classes that will be running through this weekend. And like normal GT3 action, like you'd normally see in GT3 action, we have two classes in terms of drivers. You can see the spray being kicked up from these Pirelli wet tyres, but the two different classes, so you must always have a gold rated driver, and you must always have a bronze rated driver in your lineup at all times. You must have a silver, you must have a gold, and you must have a bronze rated driver here this weekend. So we've got some Pro-Am class cars, we've got some Pro class cars, we've also got some Am class cars and some Trophy class cars as well this weekend. They're technically classified as GT4 class car. So yeah, we are qualifying with GT4 cars out on this circuit, more or less qualifying with GT4 cars out on the circuit. But now the cars will start their qualifying session here. Now look, this is the 58 Mercedes-AMG. The rain has just gotten heavier and heavier. It's almost impacting the circuit to the point where it's nearly undrivable. But these Pirelli wets will be escorting most of the water off the circuit here. This is the guy by Valmont Racing, Tigani owners, more Autosport Racing, Brendan Leach team covered car with Sergio Perez, and of course Brendan Leach inside that car at the moment. I think yes, it is. So it is Brendan Leach inside that car at the moment. Here, so we've got Pro-Am class cards, which is practically the black coloured, the coloured, yeah. So practically the black colouring on the left-hand side of your screen is Pro-Am class cars, and then of course the green would be either Am or Trophy class cars here this weekend. Here is Antonio Studi in the Audi green coloured livery. It doesn't shine as much. Being the fact that there's water on the circuit, it's not as beautiful as what you'd normally see. But of course, this is just typical Phillip Island weather. You get this with typical Phillip Island weather. Wet, muggy, and just not nice to drive in. Here is Antonio Studi though, making his run through the final corner on the circuit, turn 12, and out the other side. And drivers now will be starting their laps, trying to again put temperature through these Pirellis. Will be a big talking point. Drivers now starting to put lap times down on the board. Will Davison goes to the top of the 181 Ferrari here, but again, lap times will be completely different compared to what we saw in practice, in free practice 1 and free practice 2, where of course these drivers got 45 minutes of free practice time to get used to this circuit as well. At the moment, we look at here Antonio Studi in car 2, the Audi car, making his run now down through and into the right-hander of Lukey Heights, on the exit of Lukey Heights, and drop down into turn 10. The cars will go. But again, these first couple of laps will mainly just be about trying to rotate some tyre temperature through these cars. Trying to get tyre temperature will, of course, be a very important talking point here. So the green on the graphic on the left-hand side there will indicate a Trophy class car. So that is, of course, the 24 Audi of Stokell currently in that car at the moment. The 71 Porsche 911 GT3 as well of, at the moment, on board that car, Luke Hulden. And then, of course, Brad Gardner as well in the Aston Martin GT3 as well. One of the only Aston Martin Vantages on the grid. Of course, sharing that car with Brad Gardner, the 14 there. Alex Gardner. Sorry, it's Alex Gardner, not Brad Gardner. It's Alex Gardner as well. And, of course, sharing that car with Lee Stibbs this weekend, the bronze-rated cars as well. So that is one of the bronze-rated cars this weekend. Javon Evans at the moment at the top of the session. Sitting at the top. So that's Jackson Evans, must I say, sitting at the top of the session. As now cars start to flow some lap times into this session with just over 8.5 minutes to go. Here, Brock Feeney now jumps to the top in the number 1 Audi, the reigning champions in the GT World Challenge Australia Championship. The reigning champions kind of on the Audi coming into this weekend. Of course, being shared by Brad Schumacher. Of course, two-part qualifying this weekend. So, two-part qualifying. One car will be qualified by the number one driver, more or less, which will be, of course, Brock Feeney, who's currently sitting at the top of this session in the gold-rated car. So the gold drivers will go out first, and, of course, the bronze drivers will be out last. And mainly this session will be deciding pole position, you could only think here. So this session will decide pole for this weekend. As here, look, this is the 23. Making his run now through, so that's the 24, that is the KFC Team MPC car. Making his run through into Lukey Heights through turn 9. This is also the Audi of Brock Feeney, who currently leads this session here at the moment. The reason why I'm actually not telling you the times here is because they're not popping up on our timing screen here. So that is definitely a bit of a problem. Definitely a little bit of a problem. But Brock Feeney currently leads the session 1.8 seconds faster than anyone else out there as we take a look at a replay of what happened to one of the Aston Martins squirming around on the rim of that car. It's one of the Aston Martins, and the only Aston Martin in the field, sorry. So that would be the Valentino Rossi car of Alex Gardner. And of course, the Guy Valmont Mercedes, of course, going on as well, going off the road, having to use that exit path as well. Brock Feeney now goes back to the top of the session. Will Davison quickly eclipsed him, but then was quickly eclipsed back by what would have been the Repco Supercars champion of Brock Feeney. Quickly displaced him 1.9 seconds faster. If we take a look here, look, the 181 Ferrari making his run now down through turn 10 here. And on board this car this weekend is the OnlyFans Rene Gracie and William Davidson as well. The Rene Gracie run car this weekend. Rene Gracie currently not in this car. Yes, she wouldn't be. It would be William Davidson. So it's not Will Davidson, it is William Davidson. So stand corrected there. Davidson currently sitting in position 2 in this session in the OnlyFans Ferrari, looking to pounce his way further back up the grid here this weekend. Yeah, so Pro-Am drivers, the more or less pro drivers will be heading out there first, and of course followed by then the bronze drivers at the second part of this qualifying session. Here, and the fastest lap time sets the grid for race number 1 this weekend. So we'll see what happens there. But Brock Feeney, Jaden Ojada's gone up into position 2 here. So in the 66 Mercedes, it's gone up into position 2 now. The Pro-Am rated Carlo Kulden now goes to the top of the trophy class. P4 in that Porsche. Ryan Wood now up into position 4. As now driver starts across the line. Josh Buchan up into position 7 in the 23 Ferrari. Thomas Rendell up into position 8. But a big gap there from Brock Feeney as he continues just to cut laps, to be completely honest with you. It's going to be really the only way that you can set a half-decent lap time. 1 second exactly off is Jaden Ojeda. Of course, this weekend, sharing that car with Paul Lucchini. And he'll be, of course, heading out in the next part of qualifying. Here, Paul Lucchini in this Mercedes AMG GT3. Now, look, as he makes his run through. This is the 66 of Jaden Ojeda. Has been very successful and was very successful back at Sydney Motorsport Park just a few weeks ago in the Repco Supercars Championship. Very, very successful indeed. He's a little bit deep into turn 10. Actually, nearly run off the road down there at turn 10 on the Lukey Heights. And through turn 10, the drop down, it's a heavy braking zone is turn 10. Probably the heaviest braking zone on the circuit. I say probably. It is the heaviest braking zone on the circuit this weekend. This is William Davidson in the 181 OnlyFans Ferrari. Now making his run through the penultimate corner. Jaden Ojeda goes to the top by nearly a second over Brock Feeney. No, you didn't really miss anything. No, you didn't. But welcome in, Elizabeth. Jaden Ojeda goes to the top now. 0.8 of a second. Antonio Studi up at a P5. Javon Evans up at a P4. Jackson Evans, sorry. Luke Hilden up at a P6. Oscar Target quickly displaces him up at a P6 now. As now we look at the 181 Ferrari who's just crossed the line. And where's that car going up at a position 3? Look, 1.3 seconds off the pace. I'm the only one in the commentary box this weekend, not being shared by the world feed. So if you're wondering why I haven't crossed the world feed yet, is because I'm going to get copyrighted if I cross there. So I will get banned if I cross there at all this weekend. So I can't be doing that. So I'm the only one in the commentary box this weekend. I'll be commentating throughout this whole series. It does suck. As the guy Valmont 44 car now makes his run to the line. This is Brendan Leach. Can he go to the top of the session? No, but he was very close to it. Purple through both sectors. And Personal West through the third sector. Well, it's still better if you commentate only. Good point. Good point. And it's a bit of practice as well. Jaden Ojeda at the moment sitting at the top of this session. 6/10 back to his former teammate, Brendan Leach, in the 44 Mercedes. Guy Valmont Mercedes this weekend. Of course, being shared by Brendan Leach and Sergio Perez. I need to stop saying Sergio Perez because we've just been live for Formula One. You know, Jaden Ojeda going fastest than anyone and has just, well, extended his margin out at the top of the session. 1.6 seconds now has Jaden Ojeda gone. Very quick. Very, very quick indeed. But again, the more laps that these drivers do, the drier this track will get. So at the moment, we're qualifying on a wet track, but the more laps that these drivers do, the more water that will be dispersed. Jaden Ojeda, Brock Feeney, battling for pole position at the moment. It was quickly Brock Feeney, then displaced again by Jaden Ojeda. Luke Hilden up in a position 9, who's now topping trophy class at the moment by nearly 1.2 seconds. William Davidson up in a position 6, so in that 181 Ferrari up into position 6. 1 minute 18 seconds to go left in this session. As now here, look, is Jaden Ojeda making his run through the right-hander of, that would be Siberia through turn 6, out through turn 7. As drivers now try and find their own space on this track, you can see there's actually starting to form a dry line here. So what I mean by dry line is the tyres, these wet weather tyres, these Pirellis are very good, by the way, at dispersing water off the racing line. As now here, look, is the reigning champions of the number 1 Audi, Brock Feeney, what should have been, by the way, the former champion of the Repco Supercars Championship. Very controversial down there, down under in Adelaide, just a few months ago. Could have been, I say that, could have been at the end of last year in November there, but very controversial indeed. And since then, Brock Feeney has talked with Ryan Wood and has said, Ryan Wood has actually apologised to Brock Feeney, and Brock Feeney has said, oh, okay. So, yeah, bit of controversy actually coming into this weekend. Meanwhile, William Davidson goes up into position 2, 1 second off the pace. Josh Buchan up into position 6. And, of course, Javon Evans, followed by Brendan Leach, Brock Feeney, Davidson, and Jaden Ojeda leading out in front by nearly a second in the 66 Mercedes of the Move My Wheels by Tagani Motorsport Mercedes. At the moment, on board that car is Jaden Ojeda. Next session will be jumped in by the bronze-rated driver of Paul Lucchini. When you think of Paul Lucchini, who's, of course, competed in the GT World Challenge Europe Championship, you wouldn't think he's a bronze-rated driver. Very much not that way. As he makes his run now, here, look, is the 44, the Guy Valmont racing car, making his run round the final corner. Is this good enough for pole position for Brendan Leach? As he makes his run to the line. P2, so about 4/10 off the pace. He was actually improving as I spat on my timesheet. There, wow, that's disgraceful. Wow, I just spat on that. I needed that. I needed that. Oh my God. That's what you get for commentating. Jesus. But meanwhile, this is the man that at the moment has got provisional pole. The 66. Move my wheels. Racing Mercedes AMG GT3. Elizabeth said, well, that happened. Well, yeah, very much did. Very much happened. As he makes his run now down towards the line. This is the Move My Wheels car. 66. Can he improve? Yes, he can. By half a second. And goes faster than anyone. 9/10 clear of anyone at the moment. Both of my timing screens are not updating for some reason. So both of my timing screens have not updated. So I do not know times whatsoever. I say that. I don't know any times from any of these sessions. Meanwhile, Brendan Evans goes up into position 2. I must correct myself because I assure you that's wrong. I assure you that is wrong. I 100% assure you that is wrong. As there, Jackson Evans. Sorry, it is Jackson Evans. Yes, it is. It's Jackson Evans who pops himself up into position 2. So very good lap there from Jackson, and has popped himself up into position 2 in the dying seconds of this session. So bit of a calmer session, but now what will happen in the second part of qualifying is the bronze drivers will jump in, and there you go. 139.007 is the Jayden Ojeda car, the RTGT team, the Ferrari team, in position 2, about 7/10 off the pace, and the Guy Valmont team, followed by Davidson, Brock Feeney, Brian Wood, Josh Buchan, Tom Randall, Oscar Target. Oh, sorry, that's, Oscar Target, then Antonio Stuckel, and then, of course, Luke Hilden, Antonio Dalperto, Josh Hunt, and Gardner in position 15. Adam Gardner in position 15 there. For the Volante Rosso Motorsport team there. But now, let's take a look at the highlights of this qualifying session. Here is... Yes, this is the highlights of this qualifying session here for the GT World Challenge. Powered by AWS. Qualifying highlights for race number 1. So I stand corrected. Again, I'm brand new to GT World Challenge Australia. I know GT cars, I just don't know the format of how this works. So, Q1 decides race number 1, apparently. So this is results that you saw just a few moments ago will decide race number 1 a bit later on today, as the cars now made their way out of pit lane and started to throw some lap times down. This was the car that was quick early on in the session, the 66 Move My Wheels car of Paul Lucchini, who was in that, Jayden Ojeda, who was in that car at the time and was throwing down laps and was actually competing with what should have been the Repco Supercars champion of Brock Feeney. Just a few moments ago, was competing with him for pole position. But in the end, it was this man, the Guy Valmont 44 car, by Valmont, Brendan Leach, who took pole position. And now we'll strap Sergio Perez into that car. So Brendan Leach hops out, and Sergio Perez hops in, and we'll see now the second part of qualifying. Now, the bronze drivers will be doing this next session. So all the bronze drivers will be out in this next session to see who will grab pole for race number 2 here this weekend. So whilst we've got this little gap in proceedings, now in this situation, I would hand it down to pit lane to see what's happening in terms of pit lane world, but I can't because I will get copyrighted, and that's just not good. So yeah. Anyways, so there is Brendan Leach, P3 in the Pro-Am Cup, 3rd overall, 3rd in qualifying. So very good job there from Brendan, and now we'll jump over. So Brendan Leach will hop out of that car, and we'll hand it over to his teammate of Paul Lucchini in the bronze-rated driver as well. Anyways, Elizabeth, how's your morning been? How has your morning been? If I was to define my morning, it would probably be busy. Indeed. So if that's to define my morning. Let me tell you that much. Plus, I've been editing videos this morning as well. So, yeah, I've been busy. Let me tell you that much. I've very much been busy here. So, not too far away now from actually the second part of qualifying getting underway. Here, what kind of videos? So at the moment, I've got the next round of my junior league that will be uploaded a bit later on today. I'm hoping a bit later on today. A couple hours, probably. And then, what else is there? I can't remember. And then a few other go-kart videos as well. So mainly just go-kart videos at the moment. Mainly just go-kart videos for the moment. But the green light is on at the end of the pit lane, and we're now going to head out for the second part of qualifying. And now, you'll strap in your second driver, which will obviously be the bronze rated driver this weekend. As the cars make their run out of pit lane. And now bronze rated drivers will decide race number 2. So the second part of qualifying here. You'll strap in your bronze driver with a 2 or 3 minute break. And then, of course, head back out there for the second part of qualifying here for the GT World Challenge Australia. As the cars now try and put temperature through. What would you change tyres? That is the big question here. Would you go onto a cold set of wet tyres, or would you stay on the warm set of wets? I would only think you'd stay on the warm set of wet tyres that you have on. But again, I'm not a strategist, so we'll see what the teams do down there if they change tyres or not. But I would only guess that you'd stay on that same set of warm, Pirelli wet tyres. This timing for streams is finally more convenient for me. Yeah, you can actually watch the whole entire stream in saying, "Oh, I have to go to bed now." So yeah, you could probably watch the next 2 or 3 streams, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, green light on at the end of the pit lane, and drivers now start laps in this session. Here is the 44 Guy Falmont Mercedes making his run through turn number 1. Yeah, without falling asleep. Yeah, you can actually chat with me. You can actually chat with me as well. So cars making their run out of pit lane. 9:40 p.m. Pretty sweet. Oh wow, that's sweet. Woo! Gotta love it. Not to brag or anything, but it's nearly midday for me. So you know I'm chilling. I'm chilling like a villain. I am 100% chilling. So here, your reigning champion, the Audi number 1, presented the car this weekend, the Kelso Electrical MPC car, and currently at the moment Brad Schumacher on board that car. They'll be hoping, you'd think, for a pole position, a double pole this weekend, with the Audi team. But bit tight coming down into turn number 1 here. 3-way, more or less, fight. We haven't even got to the race yet. This is qualifying, boys. Spread out a little bit. There you can see Brad Schumacher passing through on one of the trophy class cars. I think it's Stupas in the 24 Audi as well. Passing through there is Brad Schumacher. You wouldn't think Brad Schumacher would be a bronze rated driver, but that's what he's been noted down for this weekend. It says it right here. It says it right here. Right here, bronze rated driver. So I'm not lying there. For me, the 9 p.m. stream is nice chill time. I usually watch a series or play some games. Oh, pretty good. But instead, you're watching me. Or you might be multitasking. You could be you could be doing either one. 10 minutes to go left in this session. Yeah. You're either watching a series, playing a game, or just watching me. Look, that's the way to spend your life. If that's the way you want to spend your time, do it. I gladly appreciate it. 9.5 minutes to go left in this qualifying session out of what will be a 15-minute qualifying session. Here, as we take a look here at the Lee Ferrari making his run to the line. This is the 25. I'm tired from gym, so I don't want to do anything else. Yeah, good point. Brad Schumacher back to the top of the session. Shane Smolin in position 2. Shoot in position 3. Rosser position 4. Pierre's in position 5. Curry position 6. Brooks position 7. Lucchini in position 8 as well. So that just rounds out your top 8 in this session. Only 15 cars for the GT World Challenge Australia. Quite interestingly there, as car passes down through my street. Very rude. Very, very rude indeed. 9.5 minutes to go, though, left in this session. Shane Smolin making his run through. So this is the Ferrari of Shoot, also making his run through into Elliot Shoot. Of course, driving with Jackson Evans, being the gold-rated driver this weekend. And we do have 2 bronze-rated drivers, so the way that works, we do have bronze-rated double lineup, the Superbarn Supermarkets. Oh, that's a tongue twister. I don't get that was very strange. Supermark. I cannot say that. That is awful. That is absolutely awful. Supermarkets by Tigani Motorsport. I can't speak. I'm going to go back to F1. I'm going to go back to F1. I can't read these team names. Supermarkets by Tigani Motorsport. Of course, the double bronze rated lineup as well. James Couduris and Teo Couduris. In the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo car. That's a double bronze lineup. Can you believe that took me like a minute to get out of my mouth? Wow. So, with that lineup, are you sure you're commentating, or is something you want to... Are you sure commentating is something you want to do? Yeah, I'm starting to question that. Let me tell you that much. I'm starting to very much question that. I'm very much questioning that now. Yeah. It takes you 5 minutes just to read the teams. Oh, flipping heck, it's awful. It's absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. Teams now continuing to make their run around as they trying to dry out this circuit. Lap times continuing to be presented throughout this session. 7 minutes to go. Still Brad Schumacher sitting at the top of this session. Of course, the time to beat in that last session was 1:39.0. If, of course, you can beat that. Again, that was a Pro-Am rated driver that did that time. So, again, these are bronze drivers. You would not expect that they would beat a 1:39.0. But yet again, they're in the same car. They're in the same machinery. So, you never know. Can a bronze rated driver beat a 1:39.0 set by a Pro-Am driver? Here, look, the 26 Ferrari of Shoot making his run through and down through towards turn number 11. Hard under the brakes and now into turn number 11. Out the other side through turn 12 and onto the Gardner Straight. And then you'll make your run down back in towards Doing Corner and in towards Southern Loop. Wow, I cannot speak today. I genuinely cannot speak today. 6 minutes to go left in this qualifying session, of course. Still plenty more action still to come here. From Phillip Island, we've got Porsche Sprint Challenge coming up straight after this. Which, by the way, they've got nearly a 30-car field supporting GT World Challenge Australia this weekend. So, that's a car off the road in the background. And that is the Kolishi 56 Mercedes off the road. And that's Shane Smolin off the road. Shane Smolin off the road and into the gravel. I'll get to your message in a minute, but yes, I probably should. Way off the road and again, just getting off the groove in the road. And when I say groove, I mean the dry line that starts to form when these cars go around. You know, on a road. Oh, and that's a Porsche GT3R in the barrier, red flag. And a red flag has been shown throughout this session, and that's the AED Consulting Tigani Motorsport car of Nathan Holstead that has put himself backed himself into the barrier. And that would be unfortunate there, but we saw that just in the background of shot. The 56 car getting way offline, getting off those grooves in the road that are formed by these Pirelli wets. And with 4.5 minutes to go, is this 71 able to get moving? That's Nathan Holstead in the Porsche GT3R. He's gotten the car moving. Now, these wets would be doing a dream in trying to get himself out of there, and he has. It's a very good job there, but there's definitely a bit of bodywork damage to the rear end of that Porsche there, and a red flag has been shown due to the 56 Mercedes that has buried himself into the gravel just a few moments ago, so that is unfortunate there. And that car will, of course, get its fastest lap time taken off as well. Immediately, the Amarok Ford recovery crew making their way out onto the circuit to try and get this car recovered. And this weekend, it is a Raptor recovery car out on circuit. The Ford Racing Raptor recovery car will be trying to tow that Mercedes out of the gravel. But Brad Schumacher at the moment, in that number one Audi, looks absolutely quick. 100% quick this weekend so far. So we'll see how that runs for him. 2.2 seconds clear of the car behind him of Shoot. Elliott Shoot in position 2 in the ART GT 26 Ferrari 296 GT3 Evo. That's a lot of words. And words I cannot say today. I cannot say words. Real quick, let's take a look at some of the chat messages. Elizabeth says you should practice some tongue twisters before streaming or something like that. Probably should. Maybe it would help. Look, I can't even speak now. I can't even speak now. I can't even get words out of my mouth. That is how awful this is. That is how disgraceful that is. Oh. Here, but under red flag here due to the 56 car Polish AMG by Tagani Motorsport car. Shared by Oscar Target and Shane Smolin. Currently parked in the gravel, and that Porsche has definitely had contact down there. James Holstead in the 71 in the trophy class car as well. So that car's definitely had a bit of contact with the barrier. Nothing in terms of it won't really affect the aerodynamics of that GT3 car, but it won't help. It won't help. It will leave a few bruises on that car, let me tell you that much. Here this weekend. 2 minutes to go left in this session, and that car possibly, there you go, James Holstead hopping out of the car, and that is unfortunate. I think the team have found a bit more damage than just bodywork. You could only think there. So possibly a bit more damage than just bodywork going on down there. Possibly a bit of suspension damage being shown on that car. So that's unfortunate there with a minute and a half of this session to go. We're actually back to green flag here. Sorry, no, still on red flag. Still under red flag here. So red flag still out in this session as the Ford Raptor recovery crew try and recover that car out of the gravel. There's the 56 Mercedes now making his run through. Being towed out of the gravel. And at the moment, he actually can't get that car moving. Or unless it's the fact he can't get the car fired up. If he can't, then it will be probably session over for this qualifying session. It will put Brad Schumacher on pole position. And I think it's mainly just the fact that there's a whole bunch of gravel in the front end or the rear end of that car. See the Marshall down there with a Milwaukee blower trying to blow some of the gravel out of the front of that car. And it actually can't get it moving. So this will be session over, unfortunately, there. Session over. Brad Schumacher has just bagged pole position. There you go. 144.6 over the ART GT. Shoot, Smolin, Piers, Rosser, Emery, Gracie, Lucchini, Brooks, Curry, Dietz, Lee Stibbs, Cameron Campbell, Stu Pass, and of course Nathan Holstead, who ended up in the wall. But the time to beat here in the second part of qualifying for race 2, 144.6 at the end of this session. So there you go. That was a heck of a qualifying session. And the Kelso Electrical MPC of Brad Schumacher bags pole position. 144.6 is the time to beat here in the second part of qualifying. And that will set pole for race 1 and race number 2. So, highlights of the second part of qualifying here. A lot of traffic and more or less a lot of trying to clean the track, more or less, in terms of trying to get all the water off the road. And that was the reason why we brought out the red flag. It would be an abrupt end to this session. 56 Mercedes AMG could not get that car moving, switch the car off, and that would be the demise of that car. Being the fact he can't get the car started due to the amount of gravel. I reckon there's probably about 4 kilos of gravel inside the front end of that car, which, again, with no air running through the front of that car, would be the reason why he cannot get that car moving. So, red flag at the end of GT World Challenge Australia qualifying, and that will do it. That will do it. And there's the Move My Wheels car on Rover pole position this weekend. Very, very nicely done. Very nicely done indeed. And that's for race number 1, my friend. That is the 66 car that is on pole position for race number 1. And we'll be a tough car to beat, let me tell you that much. Very much a tough car to beat. Now, since I cannot play highlights, I'm going to end the stream there. We're about 5 minutes away now from Porsche Sprint Challenge qualifying getting underway. So stay with us. Here on Travis Motorsports, we'll be back in just a few moments' time for Porsche Carrera Cup, for Porsche Sprint Challenge qualifying. And of course, we'll be back for F1 Sprint qualifying a bit later on today. But that is it for the GT World Challenge Australia qualifying. And I'll be back in a couple of minutes for Porsche Sprint Challenge qualifying. See you then. Bye-bye.